things to you that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Howdy, welcome to Friday, folks. Got to be a bit happy about it, unless you're working tomorrow and Sunday, which I guess can be the case for many of us. God love you. I hope you've had a good week. You've stayed safe. You and yours haven't caught COVID or anything equally as fake. And you're pushing along quite happily. Hopefully this show will be able to give you a bit of a smile, a little bit of information, and you, in return, will be able to give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you have already done so, please check that you're still subscribed. YouTube do tend to play around with our figures just a little bit. Tonight, before I bring in the big fella, I want to talk a little bit further about Ben Roberts-Smith. I don't really have an update. There's not too much to tell. He's still locked up inside Silverwater Prison. But there is something that people should be very aware of, and that is the Rome Statute. Now, that states that a military commander or person effectively acting as a military commander shall be criminally responsible for crimes within the jurisdiction of the court committed by forces under his or her effective command and control. Look, at its, if kept strictly to the legal letter of the law there, that would make the head of the Defence Forces, I guess, responsible. Not sure that is the case, but certainly the officers on scene, the officers at HQ relaying orders, all of them are far more responsible for anything that happens in the field than the corporal or the private who's out there amongst it, in most circumstances. But that is something that should be kept aware and kept at people's forefront while Ben Roberts-Smith is being publicly persecuted. His reputation is trashed. The reason that criminals, the reason that pedophiles and murderers don't have their names in the press, and their names are mostly protected in the press and the media before they are convicted of any crime, is to protect them from being publicly vilified. Now, Ben Roberts-Smith has been out of active service, I think, since 2014. I think that's when he retired from the Army. He wasn't able to continue in the Army for a number of reasons we might get into one night, but my understanding is he was more or less forced out for a variety of reasons. One of which was that he was so identifiable. It would make him a target, and anybody who was with him if he was on a battlefield somewhere. So there was probably more to it than that. But he is still our most decorated soldier who, for some reason, has managed to upset, people like Andrew Hastie, who never fired a shot in anger in Afghanistan. He's admitted as much, was there, was leading a troop of 30 men who committed acts that most people would find quite abhorrent, cutting the hands off dead people and keeping them as souvenirs, in some cases I've heard, alleged. So, Andrew Hastie never shot anyone, never pulled a trigger. He did seem to have a very spectacular rise to captain, I think he was, and then straight out of the military, straight into Canning, and straight into the Liberal Party. I don't know how many medals he's got, but this thing from the AFP, who seems quite intent on hounding Ben Roberts-Smith, has got twice as many as Ben. I mean, I don't think any of them are remotely half as important, but the question asks itself, really, what did she do to get the medals? Was she an operational tier 1 operator, a specialist kicking in doors. I mean, she looks like she could kick in a door. She looks like she could probably kickstart a Harley regularly. Probably goes to the odd parade with it. But I digress. She's a highly awarded Australian Federal Police officer. As you can see, another one of her medal collections that she can't always wear. But she and her team are very definitely going after a bloke who has the three most respected, highest regarded medals for gallantry and bravery that this country can award. And doing so based on a political whim, which I find to be beyond disgusting. The other thing that I would like you all to remember is that while Ben Roberts-Smith was being discussed in the rooms of the Australian Federal Police and court and lawyer officers, Tony Burke was having secret meetings to return the brides of ISIS. These women who chose terrorism over Australia and left, in some cases with their kids, in some cases they waited till they got there to have kids and bring them back. 34, I think, was the last count. Pretty confident they're already back in the country, Tony. Any chance of that? At any rate, while the AFP were trying to figure out ways that they could arrest Ben Roberts-Smith in Sydney rather than Brisbane, because they don't want the case to be heard in any court in Brisbane. They want it to be heard in Canberra. The case they refuse to look at seriously and take seriously is the Federal Home Affairs Minister having secret meetings to import accused terrorists back into the country and facilitating that through a third party. A very prominent eastern suburbs, funnily enough, I believe, Muslim man, Muslim doctor. There needs to be justice in this world, folks, and if the serving military people aren't waking up to it, seeing what's been done to one of their own, and we will talk more about that in just a minute. What I do want you to write down if you're in Melbourne is this date, Sunday the 19th of April, at Parliament House, Australian flags only. There'll be a public rally to free Ben Roberts-Smith. Now, pardon me, he is due to have a bail hearing on the 17th, is my understanding. That would make it the Friday. So there is every opportunity that he will, in fact, be out of jail by the 19th. However, you only need to change the free to stop persecuting, and the rally could still be held quite well. And there's no guarantee that they're not going to lock him up again, even if they do let him out on bail. The scary thing is that if he applies for bail and they do knock it back, they don't have to bring him to court again for 2 years. It's how long they can sit him in a jail for. It is disgusting what is being done to one of Australia's, in fact, I would say Australia's greatest living hero. Absolutely beyond disgusting. And it's being done by political festering sores that are sucked onto the tit of Canberra. That we have to eradicate, folks. We have to get them off that tit. This bloke is a fellow who served Australia from the late 80s to the early 90s or mid-90s. His name is Grant C. He served with the Special Air Service Regiment, the SAS. He has started a Facebook page, and it says Stand with Ben Roberts-Smith, VCMG. And his lead post says, it costs millions of dollars to train one SAS warrior. And the sum total of all that extreme training, which has killed more SAS warriors than battle has, is to do just one thing: kill the enemy. More for all our children than for any other reason. We all sleep safe at night because of courageous warriors like our young brother, Ben Robert Smith. Where we go one, we go all. Grant C, ex-SASR Trooper, Vehicle Mounted Alpha 1.3, C Troop 1 Squadron SASR, 1995 to 1990. Grant, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service and for setting up that group. I urge you folks, if you support Ben Robert Smith, pop along, join that group again. Stand with Ben Roberts-Smith VCMG and look for the name Grant C, who set it up. Always remember, folks, we lost over 40 members of our defense forces, and a great many of them were SAS, were sent home like this, unfortunately, from a war zone that not one of these brave politicians in the Labor Party, I think, have ever had to consider serving in. I don't think there's too many, and if they are, they were probably they probably stayed a lot of time at the desk, is what I'm going to say. I know there are a couple through the Liberal Party who've served, and I thank them all for their service, little, large, whether they were, cooking, cleaning, or at the front line shooting. It doesn't really matter. Everybody who serves deserves our respect. However, what you don't get to do is get out and start attacking others. You don't get to forget your honor code because you want to make friends with a couple of media guys in a pretty big media organization. Maybe you wanted to make those friends just because it was a fast track into getting some big media coverage on a big network. Maybe there was more to it than that. Maybe it goes a bit deeper. Don't know. All will be revealed, though. I have absolutely no doubt. Just like 50 million Australian dollars. That's you and me dollars, Australian taxpayer government dollars, Australian taxpayer money, sent by the Australian government to the Taliban. It makes me a bit sad. So, in the fact that it makes me a bit sad, I think it's about time we had somebody on who makes me a bit happy. Will you please make a welcome for his regular Friday night appearance, the Waving Wonder. Hello, buddy. How are you?
Hey, what do you mean makes you happy? I'm the one who picks on you all the time. Come on, get it right.
I know. That sort of makes me happy. You're keeping me straight and in line. David McBride, absolutely right, Jenny. David McBride is still in jail. He's a whistleblower of note. And what they do with him, under the whistleblower protections, they put him in jail. These bastards will do anything, folks. They will do anything. So maybe it now needs to become a David McBride, Ben Robert Smith campaign. What do you think, Vinny? Oh, I'm sorry. Wash my face out with soap. Or slap my face, wash my mouth out with soap. Sorry, Vince. I mentioned it once.
Got my words mixed up.
I mentioned it once. I think I got away with it, but
absolute. It's crazy times. I love how they do this just before Anzac. It's like, what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to destroy the memory of our fallen soldiers and the people who actually gave their lives so that we could have the freedoms that we don't have today? Yeah, that's right. Don't have today. I was right. Yeah, correct. It makes me sick. We train them, we put them over the war, have a war with an enemy you can't tell who's the enemy and who's not, and then try and hold people accountable. Right?
17 years later.
Yeah, there may be some stuff that's relative. There's a possibility. I mean, we will never know because we will never get the transparent account of what happened. Period.
Nope.
All right. They'll lock it away like they lock everything else away. This is the most transparent government we've ever had. Bullshit. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, evidence the 78-page report that I was talking about last night, where 78 pages are fully redacted.
Yeah.
Just 78 pages of black.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And that's all about Australian batch numbers and, injuries related to those batch numbers. The Australian government do not want those figures released. The TGA are ignoring and hiding and obfuscating all the good things that they've been doing. But, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you,
Ian, good point. Demoralising programs like the last 10 years have degraded patriotism in Australia. Yeah, I remember, as you will, Vince, I'm sure, Madam experienced the big uptake some years ago where Anzac Day parades, who for many years had been sparsely populated, all of a sudden became, rig de jour, and everybody was there with a champagne breakfast, otherwise known as a gun barrel breakfast on Anzac days. And but for those who didn't get invited to a gun barrel breakfast, then you did champagne and strawberries, or champagne and a barbecue with a bacon and egg roll in the park, or there was so much, and it wound up being a half day or longer celebration. It's always a good day to go to the RSL. It's, for many, it's the one day a year that those blokes and women, for that matter, will go to the RSL and tell stories, meet up with potentially old squatties, and or just with people who served at a similar time but in a different area, and relive some memories. It's also a wonderful day for you to go and thank those people for their service. Buy them a beer. That's really what you can do, or a wine.
And
thank them
come
for their
COVID,
service.
As Watler says, we had to clap from the driveway. And hello, Watler.
Yeah.
Watler.
Yeah. Good to see you up, brother. I haven't heard from you today, so I'm wondering whether or not you went back in for surgery. But nice to see you're awake. So if that is the case, that's good. You had to do it from but even from the driveway, wasn't it wonderful to see? I mean, I don't know what your street was like, or if you even did it, but I actually made a wireframe of an Australian digger standing with his head bowed holding a gun. And it was really quite weird because you'd drive past it and you didn't really know it was there until you hit the right angle and you could see the slouch hat and the head bowed and the gun out and all that kind of thing. Otherwise, it just looked like a ball of chicken wire. But I put that out the front for the morning, and everybody in the street came out. Somebody played the last post very loudly off their balcony over the whole valley, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I can't say that I enjoyed it more than going to a service. I've been lucky. I've been to the dawn service at the Shrine in Melbourne a number of times, and I've been to a variety of other dawn services on the Gold Coast, for instance, and small towns, big towns, medium-sized towns over the last career I've had in radio. So I've been lucky enough to see the crowds go from very little to very large, and now they're sort of falling back again. Patriotism, folks. We've been told that we can't be patriotic. That, to be patriotic, you're going to get branded as a sovereign citizen. If you ever have someone come up and call you a sovereign citizen, just explain to them that you're very sorry, that for 2026 you've given up on people who will admit openly and freely that they're twice as stupid as they think they are. Because if they can put sovereign and citizen together and think that they are being intelligent, they are twice as stupid as anybody would generally give people credit for. Do that if you can explain the difference yourself between sovereign and citizen, mind you.
Okay, I can. Well, at least my take on it.
Oh, good. That's good.
Okay, so a sovereign person is somebody who has the ability to change the laws of a country, right, which we all have through constitutional referendum. A citizen is somebody who chooses to obey those laws that have been put forward by Parliament and the Constitution. So, in fact, you can be both, because you have the power to change the laws and you also have the ability to follow the laws that are already made. But That is a choice to do so, right? So we choose to follow the laws that we as sovereigns created in the first place.
What came first, sovereign or government?
Well, sovereign came first. So the answer is yes, sovereign is above citizen by a mile. And we can always step into our sovereign position at any time we want. But they are two separate positions.
Desi Freeman might argue with you on that point.
Well, you have to wait till I get to heaven to do that, but yeah.
Well, any living sovereign who is pushing forward that argument, who wants to, how did you say it?
The sovereign is with the ability to change the law.
Who can step out of the
citizenship
governmental system whenever they like. Except we're seeing that they really can't.
No.
Because the government system has tricked people into believing that all caps letter name of theirs is actually their name, rather than the straw man that it represents. But getting back to what you said previously, if a sovereign is above government,
yes,
if a sovereign is therefore supreme,
correct,
then the government can only work with the sovereign's blessing.
Yep.
Now, in this case, the sovereign was dumbed down into a royal personage, but as sovereign people, are we separate to government? Are we still separate and above government, like the sovereign royal person?
Yes. Right. When we choose to step into that position, that is where we stand.
So what you're saying then is that we choose to let government make laws and rules over us.
Yep.
And we can step out of that.
Abide by. That's the citizen part. We choose to abide by. But as sovereign people, we can step up and make or change those laws, because we're above the government in the long run. It's a weird sort of situation. It's a choice to be a citizen and follow the laws, but we can't say that we're not going to follow those laws because we're sovereign. So
essentially we need to fill the parliament. What you're saying is we need to fill the parliament full of sovereigns so we can change the laws.
Yeah, correct. Effectively, yes.
I think if we filled the parliament full of sovereigns, they'd burn the parliament down and we'd start with a whole new set that basically says, see, read the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know,
it's a weird situation, but yeah.
So, well, it's weird because it's been abused. It's been defiled. It's been changed, and the meaning, well, the media or whoever it is, the media or the police, the intelligence, and I say that with a bit of a shake of the head, the intelligence agencies have come up with sovereign citizen as a something we can say. And yep, it is an oxymoron, Jenny. You're 100% right. You can't be one and be the other. It is absolutely impossible. And God help the policeman who tags me as a sovereign citizen.
I want to clarify that. All right. She's right in what Tim says. And that's what I'm trying to get across, right? Is that the sovereign, you have two positions and you either choose to be in one or the other, but you can't be both, right? So if you're choosing to be a citizen and obey the laws that you as a sovereign have helped implement, because that's our total power, right? We're saying as sovereign people, we give the government power to make laws. And as a citizen, we will obey those laws. Don't obey those laws, we step out of our citizenship and we step back into our sovereign and we change those laws. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not one and the same. A sovereign citizen doesn't exist. We are either a sovereign or a citizen And it depends on where our stance is on a particular subject. As sovereign, we've got the ability to change that law. But our only way to do that is to get a hold of the parliament and make sure that we have the right people in there, or kick out the current corporate government and put in a new government that actually obeys the Constitution.
At which point does the sovereign become a citizen in what you've just said?
At which point, when we choose to basically obey the laws that have been created by the government, we are a citizen at that point while we're choosing to obey those laws. And most people do.
By stating it that way,
are good.
By stating it that way, it indicates that sovereigns don't believe in the same laws that a citizen might believe in, which is completely erroneous and incorrect. In fact, the laws are much simpler under the sovereign way of doing things. Think of the 10 Commandments. If you live by the 10 Commandments, you will be pretty much right. There are really only 3 that you need to worry about to be a sovereign. And if you live by those means or those statements, then you will not ever fall foul of the law as such. Now, if you do choose to murder somebody, if you choose to get drunk, get in your car, drive at 100 mile an hour and T-bone a family of 4 heading home after Christmas lunch one day, being a sovereign isn't going to assist you any more than being a citizen will. In fact, being a sovereign will be much harder on you than any citizen's court would be. Because under my understanding, at least, as a sovereign operating under sovereignty rules, if you survived, everything you have would be forfeit to the families that you hurt, to the people that you hurt. You would be indebted to repaying back their medical bills, their whatever. And if you killed people in that car accident, then you will be made responsible for it. That doesn't mean you'll go to, or that doesn't mean you're just going to have to pay a fine and walk away. You will go to jail. You know, if you've been irresponsible, then you are breaking essentially one of God's commandments, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah.
So if you're acting irresponsibly, if you're not thinking, if you are trying to impress a girl, if you are speeding to get yourself to a restaurant, you know, because you're hungry, some piss poor bloody excuse is what it will always boil down to. And you will never realize just how poor that piss poor excuse sounds until you're in the situation of, you know, surrounded by flashing lights and the law wanting to prosecute you their way. So people shouldn't be afraid of sovereignty as such. And if more people embraced sovereignty, the bastardry that goes on inside the Australian Parliament, which thankfully we are seeing so much of now that is so blatant, and we're going to talk about more of it here in just a minute. They are rushing through, like just before the break at Easter, they guillotine debate on 22 bills that affect the Australian people dramatically, some of them. They guillotine debate. That's the Australian Labor Party and the Greens banded together to gag debate on any of these bills that came through from the lower house, forced through by the Labor Greens alliance in the lower house. Gag all debate in the Senate and ramrod these things through. Now, if people embrace their sovereignty more, that'd be ended. Because that group, those people who made that happen would need to explain themselves.
Yeah.
To us, the people.
Right.
And they wouldn't be doing it in primetime news excerpts, that kind of thing. They'd be doing a lot more than that. But anyway, we'll get to. Actually, we may as well get to it now because it's all the flow. This is the new thing that we all need to be aware of. You need to contact your senator about this. The Australian Security Intelligence Organisation Amendment Bill number 2, 2025. It's had its second reading, went through in March, and it is now going to be fed back into the Australian Senate and will most likely be pushed through again in the coming weeks. Now, what it's going to do? What are the big changes? Well, it expands what ASIO can question people about. Some of this doesn't sound too bad until. So, sabotage, communal violence. I'd like to see how that's defined. Attacks on defence systems. I'd like to see how that's defined. Threats to territorial and border integrity. Well, I like the sound of that, but do you think these people are going to investigate anybody who's letting through hundreds of thousands of immigrants into our country who aren't being security checked by ASIO in any way, shape or form? And we are seeing evidence of radicalisation coming through these paths. So maybe they do need a little bit of help in those areas. It adjusts who can oversee questioning, that is, prescribed authorities. It adds reporting requirements to the Attorney General, who we all know we can rely on. And, cough splutter, it requires post-charge questioning to occur before a retired judge. Meaning one we've had enough time to feather the nest of appropriately to make sure we get appropriate outcomes. Mandates a future review of the Parliament Joint Committee on the Intelligence Security. It doesn't say when. What this is doing is actually removing what's called a sunset clause. These powers that they have had since the 9/11 days have always been temporary, and they were always going to be taken away, except they haven't been. It locks powers in that were originally only temporary after 9/11. It broadens the scope beyond terrorism into wider national security areas. Critics argue it weakens safeguards and oversight because they can keep you for 4 days and not tell anybody they got you. Supporters argue it reflects a more complex, modern threat environment. Some legal bodies have pushed to retain a sunset clause to strengthen oversight rather than make it the powers of management sort of decision. That sunset clause has to stay. If any of these powers have to actually stay, they should be reviewed every 12 months. That's my opinion on it. And tonight, while it isn't our question, we can now do, very excitingly, polls. So I'm very interested in learning about polls that we could use blockchain voting and all that sort of stuff. So tonight, I want to know whether or not you would use it. So here is, I should have put this up earlier. Here is a poll. Oh, it doesn't work well when you've got a head there. Now, I don't know whether or not you get to click on that or how this actually works. Where can I put it where it'll be? I can put it over Vince's face. That'd be nicer. Over his head. Put it over my head. There you go. I can duck out here. I don't know whether or not you can click on that and do anything with that poll. It's nice that we can have a poll. It says that you can interact with it live. So good luck, folks. Let's see whether or not you can interact with it live. It's a bit of a dummy poll. But coming up, we will, if we can get it working, we will try and do a few more media polls with it, because we're very interested, obviously, in what you have to say. And on something like this, where they are going to be removing more of our freedoms, many, many more of our freedoms, I think we need to kick them fairly solidly in the gahulis on this one and make sure that it is rejected. And the only way you're going to get that happening, oh, wow, look at that. Somebody voted. Was that you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how.
Oh, very good. I'm too scared to bring it up on another screen. The old computer here, she's about as hot as I've had it in the last couple of days. It had a... Now, here's an interesting problem, folks. Sticky numbers. I have not dribbled anything into this computer, I promise you. There is no reason for the number 1 to be sticking anywhere. But I have been turning the computer off, letting the whole thing cool down. Like, it's quite cool in the mornings when I go to start it up. But when I go to start it up, the number 1 keeps repeating. So I can't type in my password. This morning, it took me 23 minutes to get it to stop repeating either the number 1 or the letter Q before it would let me eventually, after security restart, I managed to get through. Not game enough to turn it off again tonight. We'll see what happens. So at least we'll have the weekend to fix it, won't we, Vince?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'll just magically pull the keyboard out via memory and influence and psychic capabilities. Okay.
Indeed. Now, if anybody has any Masonic knowledge of what's happening in 2094, I'm all ears. This is out Bunbury Way in Western Australia. It is, well, it's a plaque. It's mounted nicely in a bit of rock, and I guess you can see all that for yourself. If I get a little closer to it, you will see that it has our all-seeing eye, the New World Infrastructure Commission, Australia's Project West, initiated 1829, location designated by Dr. Alexander Cole. And then we go down to the bottom part, and this is what's interesting. Just as these hills watch over this region, we shall watch over the world together. We will shelter this land for 2097. Did I read that right? Just as these hills watch over this region, we shall watch over the world. Together we will shelter this land for 2094. And if we go back to this one, it says West. So where would the New World Infrastructure Commission Australis Project East be? And when was it initiated? Anybody can help us with that. Please email me, carl@vofhq.com. Very interested to learn more about that, if at all possible. I think it would be very, very interesting. Now, Bowen. What's his name? Chris Bowen. What a complete turd and idiot of a human being. I mean, just... This is a man who's going to drive us into an early grave using renewables. Now, he has decided he's not going to talk to Channel 7 anymore because Liam Bartlett from the Spotlight program caught him out today or a couple of days ago in an interview saying, well, you won't talk to us, so I've had to come to your pompous little pressers. You've knocked back, I think it was 13 emails, haven't bothered replying to, so you're hiding. He didn't like that, so now Chris Bowen doesn't talk to Channel 7 anymore. Ho-hum. I think he probably thinks that's a boast. But Bowen has provided an update on our fuel status. Urge you to take part in the poll, folks. Just click the one you like. And it's not really a serious poll, just to see if it works. All right, so today, bear with me here, the fuel status of the country. Today in New South Wales, we have fewer than 100 service stations without diesel. That's 97 service stations out of 2,400 service stations that we have in New South Wales. That's 4% of service stations without diesel. 19 without any form of fuel whatsoever. 19 out of 2,400 without any form of fuel whatsoever. In Victoria, 41 with no diesel and 27 with no unleaded petrol. In Queensland, 28 with no diesel, 19 with no unleaded fuel. In South Australia, 9 with no diesel, 8 with no unleaded. In Western Australia, 7 with no diesel and 17 without any unleaded. In Tasmania, 6 with no diesel, 5 with no unleaded. And in the Northern Territory, 4 with no diesel, 2 with no unleaded. And the ACT has absolutely no outages, as you would expect, whatsoever. That brings us to these totals. 192 service stations across Australia out of, wait for this number, 7,940. So 192 stations across Australia out of 7,940 are without diesel. That's 2.4% of the service stations. 192 out of 7,940. Question. Why are the fuel prices so high then? I don't understand. If the shortages are so few and far between, why are the fuel prices going mad? He came out today, said we've got close to 40 days worth of fuel in the tanks, or promised to us coming on the boats. We all know how that works. But the Prime Minister is currently over in Singapore trying to buy friendship with our liquid natural gas, and he's trying to buy that friendship using our gas to maintain a diesel, petrol, and more particularly, or just as particularly, a jet fuel service to Australia, supply service to Australia. And we do have a big stick to wield there with the LNG. We've got a big stick to wield. But is Albanese, do you trust him to go and negotiate a deal where it's actually beneficial to Australia? He's likely to say, oh, look, you keep the boats coming. We'll just send you the gas. We'll just send you the gas. You don't have to pay for it. Just make sure the boats come. You know? That's the kind of idiot.
That's the current reserves. That's what's currently in the tanks.
34. Oh, okay. Well, that's dropped a lot from what I saw the other day.
Yeah, well, it's still 26 days for diesel, 34 for petrol. So
I'm trying to put this over
why the hell
out of the way?
Why the hell are there service stations with no fuel? It hasn't changed much this whole time.
It becomes down to the distribution thing again, I think, and that's because there are certain independent companies who aren't being fueled for whatever reason, who aren't being refilled at the likes of. They just need to make that just a bee's dick smaller, don't they? Really,
they do. Or we need to change our lookout. Maybe do something like this.
Oh, look at you! Look at you, and I'll lean this way. All right, look at you. I think we really need to be questioning the refineries here. If you live near one of those refineries, I would love you to keep an eye on what trucks are going in and out, and if they are only big four fuel company trucks. Are you seeing the independent fuel suppliers going in and going in empty and coming out full, not going in and just topping up the tanks in there, which I don't imagine they would be doing. But we're not hearing too many good stories about independents being able to get their fuel from their normal providers, their normal distributors. And I was talking about one the other day. You'll find it on my Facebook page if you scroll down. There is a fellow who has had to come all the way from Queensland, 150 kilometres shy of Brisbane is where he came from, had to go down to Tamworth and get a cross fill down there out of a distributor down there to bring that fuel back to Queensland so that he could look after his customers. Ordinarily, he fills at the Lytton refinery, as do most, if not all, independent distributors in Queensland, particularly in the southeast corner. As you go further north, there are distributors obviously in a few places going further north. But one of the big on-road fuel distributors is Emerald Fuel Supplies, and they're responsible for, I guess, a lot of the mining contracts and a lot of the farming contracts that are required out west. But boy, they are some of the biggest fuel trucks you'll ever see. And if you haven't had the opportunity yet, I don't often plug Topher, or Topher. Topher's decided he wants to speak better, and I love it when people decide they want to speak proper R's, because if you're going to speak properly, your R should be very pronounced. Yeah. So I think Topher is trying to train himself into it at the moment, which I'm finding a bit amusing. But then he'll come out and say kilometre. If you want to be so precise that your R's are always being rounded and rolled, then please understand that there aren't 50 motters in a 50-motter swimming pool. They don't run the 100-motter dash at the Olympics. My bus isn't 10 motters long. There are not 1,000 motters in a kilometre. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometre. So before we start getting our R's right, can we get kilometre right? I mean,
yeah, well,
if we're going to be
this place, it's the same as over Victorian/South Australian. Victoria, they say grant. In South Australia, they say grant.
Yes.
So
100%.
Right, it's just Australia, right? Who cares? I mean, most people nowadays are having trouble working out accents anyway, because we've got so much communication from all over the world. Everything seems to blend together now.
True. Anyway, I didn't want that just to be a slap at Topher. I didn't mean it to be a slap at Topher. It's just a bit of fun, because I always find people. I used to work with a radio announcer who started doing that, and we were in a fairly big country town in Victoria, and every time he went to the phones live, people would just abuse him for playing with his R. You want to be an American, mate? I just want to be an American for your R. And people would just ring up and have R conversations with him. You're just leaving yourself open for ridicule. That's all I'm saying.
That brings us back to R for a ship cruise that's coming up very shortly. Tony, yes, indeed. I have ordered your shirt.
Oh, yes, the shirts have been ordered, and we think, have enough. Fingers crossed. If we don't, you will get a shirt. You just have to take the one off my back, I guess.
And I want a picture of that.
I was talking about Topher and what he was talking about today, and he's done some maths. So I defer to Topher when it comes to maths. He's very much better at numbers than I am, but those maths numbers bear out what I said here in this show. Oh God, must be 2 years ago or more. That our power grid is not strong enough, able enough, or in any way a fit state enough to be able to charge up multiple cars at multiple charging points at, say, a BP service station or a Shell or wherever you go and do these things. It might be able to supply enough power for two of them at a time, but if you plug another 3 in, then all cars' chargeability level extends. They don't all get fed 240-volt power straight out of the grid, which they then convert into your car. They only get a finite supply, and, well, there's always a generator that you could attach, and in theory, if they've got a big enough generator, they would be able to provide enough full charge to, say, 4 or 5 stations at a time. But I don't believe they works that way. They have a regulator on it, a governor on it, so it'll only put out a certain amount of power, and that power is then distributed across all of those terminals. So if you've got 1 car plugged in, you'll get a fast charge really fast. But if you've got 5 plugged in, it'll take you 5 times longer to get that charge. And the only way to upgrade those sorts of facilities are to upgrade the power lines, which are this wide, to something that's this wide and carries a whole heap more power. And the maths that he did was on how many charges of energy a fuel tanker gets. So one fuel tanker, a B double, if you like, fuel tanker, one tank on that B double fuel tanker, how many charges worth of energy do you think a car would get out of that? If the fuel was converted to the amount of charges, how many charges do you think you get? It's 500 kilowatts, I think he said, of energy.
Well, that's going to be totally dependent on what's charging off of it, isn't it? So what type of car and how many kilowatts it takes.
I guess, and now you're getting very technical. But it works out that one tank of petrol offers over 7,000 recharges worth of energy to cars with an engine that can run it. Whereas that's one truck, whereas one charging station can't supply 500 kilowatts of energy to one car now. Not without being plugged in for a very extended period of time. So our network, what he's essentially saying, is never going to be able to charge large volumes of electric cars, because to do that, they will have to rejig the entire power structure and put much bigger power lines in everywhere. And that will make it unaffordable to the max. I mean, they're having a hard enough time trying to convince people renewables are the way forward now, when you've got to replace every power line in the nation with something that's this thick. How much do you think that's going to cost? So I don't think that's going to go down terribly well.
How much CO2 is going to be emitted by all the engines used to get that copper out of the ground to make that cable?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there is so many stupid things about this green renewables argument. And, you know, that absolute tool of a moron of a human being, that prick Bowen, I mean, they had to put him in charge of something, I suppose, because he was able to get re-elected. But he must be the biggest problem that the Labor Party are seeing at the moment, because God knows they're not very good at seeing all the problems. They might see him as the biggest one at the moment, one they can hang out to dry eventually. And can't happen soon enough for mine. The whole battery waste pile is not recyclable. Well, you want to know the other funny thing? I don't know if you're in Queensland or not, but the Queensland government has been ploughing money into a recyclable company here for the last, I want to say, 10 years or so. They went bust the other day, owing $293 million. Who said there's no money in recycling, folks? Well, if the government are running it, there's definitely no money in recycling. Well, I don't know that the government were running it. I might be overspeaking it a little bit. But I do believe that the government has certainly ploughed a lot of funding into it. In the last couple of years, they have ploughed in probably close to $50-odd million. And the market apparently is just not what it used to be. The market, the actual quotes, and I'm sort of paraphrasing, the reason for the failure is the markets that were expected to open once the production of the recyclable product became available didn't open. They never materialized. Thank you, AJ. The Pipe Master returns. You are a legend. Thank you, brother. Yeah, so how interesting is that? Curiouser and curiouser.
Well, while we're getting towards the end of the show, and because both you and I are so forgetful all the time, right?
Yeah.
I just want to put out the fact that, guys, we've ordered the T-shirts for the cruise, which has pretty much drained the coffers. So with that,
we're paying for those. That's why.
Sorry?
We're paying for the we're paying
Yeah,
for
we're
the
paying
T-shirts.
for the shirts for the cruise.
That's our
as
present
that
for
sort
coming.
of reason.
So it's not,
Yeah.
This isn't a guilt thing.
No, but I'm going to make it a guilt thing. No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm kidding. For the guys who are spending money on a cruise, and welcome to that, that's fine. But for everybody else who was unable to make that, we would appreciate it if you would like to donate to the Voice of Freedom, and I'll put a link up in the chat there, or go to our merch store and look at what we have available. There's another couple of cups to be going up soon, and I'm currently investigating new hoodies, right? I'm trying to find a decent quality hoodie, and they'll have the FBN symbol on the back, the wonderful wedge-tailed eagle, and the other one will also have the Voice of Freedom symbol on the back. I'm just not sure whether I want to put his ugly mug on it or just use the straight Voice of Freedom one that's currently in the background at the moment. Haven't made that decision. I notice I got a smile out of him though.
No, works either way for me. I don't mind.
So either
I'm just
way,
having a look at our poll results. Our poll results so far, let's call it 39%. 39, 30, 30, 30. Well, let's call it 33% of the vote is yes, we should be using blockchain. 17%, which is one vote, said no, we shouldn't. 3 people did say yes, the public vote should count the most. I believe we should be able to oversee our government, and I believe we should be able to have input into government decisions like this ASIO thing. We should be able to submit in an app a blockchain guarded secure format. We should, as registered Australian voters, we should be able to send in an answer to a question like that. Do you support the passing of the ASIO Amendment Bill number 2 in the Senate today or tomorrow or next week or whenever it is? And you have a poll like that, all you've got to do is hit yes or no. That is you giving your approval. Yeah, I don't mind ASIO having more powers and taking my freedom from me. Or no, I reject that. Or maybe there'll be a third option that says yes, but with restrictions. Or no, not at all, or under certain circumstances. There might be other ways, but you can split the vote, and the Australian people can have an immediate say. Those numbers could come up in the House or the Senate on a digital scoreboard immediately. It could be a live link into the Senate and into the House. You want a pub test? There's your pub test. Do not make shit laws while the people are watching. And you might all of a sudden find a whole heap more people are watching Question Time. A whole heap more people are paying a lot more interest in what's going on in the Senate, keeping the bastards honest. And if you have a live interaction point like that, a fully secure blockchain voting system, I think we're on our way to a pretty good future if we can make that happen. Oh, Vincenzo has disappeared off the face of the earth just as I was about to say goodnight to him. That makes it very difficult. It looks like his camera has died, which is all a bit weird because when his camera dies, everything else dies. So we might take it at that as a bit of a hint, maybe. Thank you very much. Oh, no, he's back. There he is.
Yeah, sorry, knock on the door.
Oh, Jim. Thank you very much, Jim. I have heard what's going on in Ireland in various different ways. In fact, I've got a little video from a mother whose son is locked up currently in the Castlereagh prison because he refuses to call one of his students. This guy's a teacher. He refuses to use the they, them pronouns. And his mother and sister, I think it was, went to visit him in the prison only in the last few days, and they were locked up themselves, dragged away in a police van themselves. Mum is a very vocal lady. So, yeah, lovely. But thank you, Jim. Really appreciate you throwing that donation into us. That's wonderful. And I will look deeper into the farmers and the contractors. I know that they're so good at doing it, shutting down the country. I wish ours were. I really wish ours were. But ours, for whatever reason, seem to be otherwise distracted or unable for whatever reason. I don't understand why. Keep an eye on the price of silver and gold, folks. Gold seems to be going up. Oil's coming down. Silver is on the way up too. Last time I looked, I haven't had the trader out today, but I did early this morning. It was on the way up. So keep an eye out over the weekend. I'm hearing there's going to be some very interesting things coming. Thank you, Aussie Sue. God love you. And don't forget, folks, please like and subscribe. There's something I haven't done tonight, which I think was expected to be done, but we got a bit on. Rachel and Tony, I told you about, have done a healing session. Now, Rachel has sent me, she said, a paragraph she'd asked me to read. That paragraph extends to 2 pages. So if you're interested in being involved in this healing session that we're going to do once a month, then please check out the Voice of Freedom website, vofhq.com. Vince will upload it there. I have emailed it to him. It's just a Word document at the moment. And at some stage over the weekend, I will record it and put it up as a video so that you can see it. But it's just an explainer as to what Rachel does, how she's doing what she does in league with what Tony does. And I must say, we've had nothing but good reports about it from those people involved, including Watha, who seems to feel, and I'm sure he's 100% right, getting great benefit from the energies that are directed towards healing. And he's got, let's face it, a fair bit of healing. I've saved you the video he sent me of his toes, although it is 7:30 at night my time. No, I won't play it. It'll put you off your meal. It is very black. If you've ever wondered what it looks like, think frostbite. That's what it looks like. But we're aiming to fix it as soon as. Jim, thank you again. Wonderful human being. Apparently the army refused to move him. Yeah. I have heard that in Ireland, the police are the problem. The Garda. I'm told that they're not the execution arm, but they're the enforcement arm. And I don't know that the British military are moving into all parts of Northern Ireland, but we've shown in the past that the folks of Northern Ireland are banding together rather than fighting each other, and Catholic and Protestant coming together to work against what is being done to their country. So, all things being equal in a beautiful world, I think we're going to see a lot of really good changes. All right, the Waving Wonder is back briefly. He keeps popping in and popping out. So why don't you wave and go? Love your work. Thanks, brother. Vincenzo doing all good things as he does. And you have a wonderful weekend. Go forth, do all the wonderful things that people do on the weekends. Maybe you'll go fishing. Maybe you'll go flying. I know a few paragliders. I'd like to be one day. Yes, probably got to lose a kilo or 3 beforehand. Thanks for the thoughts. Whatever you're doing this weekend, folks, be safe, be happy, do it with friends, do it with family, do it with a smile, and always watch out for those dickheads on the road. Love you lots.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!